Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. I'm your host, Allison Schaaf, and today we are talking about kids' lunches. And they work for adults too. So if you don't have kids, go ahead and listen. You might get some new, fresh ideas for you as well. Before we jump in, a quick reminder that if you have not tried the Prep Dish meal plans, we have made for you meal plans with an organized grocery list, specific instructions on how you can do meal prep to stay ahead, and then quick and easy mealtime instructions. And I do want to point out, because this came up at one point in our Facebook group, that if you don't want to do the meal prep and you just want to make the meals like at dinner time, you can still use our meal plans. We have something called separated recipes. So we do have the recipes kind of in two different formats. So you're welcome to do the meal prep or just kind of make the recipe each night, whatever works for you. And you can also go back and forth depending on the week or season that you are in. So if you have not checked those out, go to prepdish.com/MPM. That's short for Meal Prep Monday, and try us out for 2 weeks for free and see if it's a fit for you. Okay, so kids' lunches. This is something, it's come up before on episodes, and I know it's always, and one just from our Facebook group and talking to all of you, but also just personally, I know it can be a challenge. I put out a request for topic ideas, and this is one that actually I think came from multiple people. So I thought I should cover it. So kids' lunches, I'm going to give some very specific meal ideas, but before I do, I will say my number one go-to kid lunch is leftovers. So whatever we had for dinner the night before, we will have for lunch. I try to double, even triple certain recipes so that I can have leftovers for lunch. Sometimes if I know that there's a dinner that I'm making, like I'll look at the meal plan for the week, and if there's a dinner that I know is something they really like, then I'll maybe triple that. So there will be plenty of leftovers for lunches. But that's always, especially with, I don't know if this is all kids or just toddlers, but it's not exactly, it's not a science in terms of how much they're going to eat. So I get that too. Like sometimes I think we'll have leftovers and then we don't. So some of these meals are great, like have on hand. So that way, if you get to the end of dinner and you don't have enough for leftovers for lunch, here's some ideas that you can pull out in a pinch as well. So you don't, a lot of these are things to have on hand and not necessarily things you have to plan in advance to have for lunches. So things that I like to keep on hand and are kind of my go-tos, okay, throw this out for the lunches. And when I say that, a lot of these are frozen. So what I try and do is ideally once or twice a week, I'll look and see kind of what proteins we have in the fridge and throw some in the fridge to defrost, or the night before, or, in a pinch, like, a few hours before lunch, stick them in a bowl of water to defrost. So the first one is frozen salmon. Once it's defrosted, it cooks up really quickly. My boys actually really like salmon. This could be really any fish. I feel like salmon's just our go-to, but any fish, if kind of whatever preference your kids have. And then frozen ground meats. I love to keep a variety of ground meats in my freezer, beef, pork, turkey, all of them. So that way, again, I can throw those out, defrost them, and do a variety of, either, cook them ground, like for tacos or bowls or something like that, or, turn them into hamburgers and patties or meatballs. So that's good to have. And then the big one that's really popular at my house, I feel like this is my version of chicken nuggets, and that's frozen chicken wings. So I use Imperfect Foods to kind of supplement. So the way I do my grocery orders right now is I do a grocery order at the beginning of the week for the Prep Dish meal plan and make those meals. And then midweek, we have an Imperfect Foods order that comes in that kind of supplements just added foods to kind of fill in for the meals that aren't on the Prep Dish plan. And one of the items that I get from Imperfect Foods are these frozen chicken wings. And they also have a drumstick that's nice, but the chicken wings are good because they cook up faster. And my kids love them. I think it's like picking them up, and I don't know, it's kind of like a finger food, and they really don't need any prep in terms of, sauce or anything like that. It's just really salt, maybe pepper, pretty simple to make. And then vegetables. So salad, green beans, cucumbers, zucchini. I just try and always have a variety of like different vegetables that I know they like to have on hand that I can just add to the side. Frozen broccoli is also, in terms of frozen vegetables, I feel like that's the one that everyone in the family will eat. Actually, not my personal favorite. I will eat it, but the boys really love that one. So that's the one I always keep in the freezer in case we run out of any of the other vegetables, or if they, end of the week and they're not looking so hot. And then I also have carbs on hand. So like sweet potatoes, and then rice or quinoa. So those are kind of my go-to starches for lunches. So kind of once I have those, the proteins, the vegetables, and the starches, I can mix and match any of those items to come up with a meal. Nothing fancy, but it works. And you can also add like sauces or, other things to, seasonings, stuff like that to liven it up a bit. So specific meals, using some of those items. So 3 specific meals that I would make for lunch. One would be salmon with like mayo dill sauce. And I mean, when I say mayo and dill, I mean literally just putting like an avocado mayonnaise with some dill, maybe garlic powder, some sort of like dried seasonings and herbs. Slather that on top of the salmon, maybe add some lemon, maybe not. Served with frozen broccoli and rice. Another meal would be burgers with potato wedges and cucumbers. And with the burgers, I don't always serve this with hamburger buns. So, I can just pull out the ground meat from the freezer and, the potato wedges and cucumbers. And then the third one is chicken wings, which I mentioned earlier, with baked sweet potatoes and green beans. The main thing with the baked sweet potatoes is just the timing of like, can those be put in the oven like an hour and a half before lunch, or maybe, baked the night before with dinner. Those do require a little more planning just because they take a while to bake. But my kids love sweet potatoes, so I keep those in the regular rotation for lunches. And then I have 3 lunch meal ideas that are these are more mix and match. So one go-to in my house is tacos. So you can mix it up a lot to kind of keep this like not being monotonous. So any veggies like bell peppers or onions, anything like that, ground meat, you can do pork, turkey, beef, all of the ground meats work well. Chorizo works really good. Sour cream, you can do hard shells, soft shells, add some salsa, some avocado. This also works good if you do a big like roast or pulled pork or something like that at the beginning of the week. That can fit in nicely here. Okay, second meal idea is bowls. I've talked about this in past episodes, but these are just really nice to be able to, one, use up leftovers. If you have like some leftovers, but not enough for a full meal, just like cook some rice or quinoa. So I usually have some sort of carb as the base. So again, rice or quinoa are my 2 that I would go to usually. And then a ground meat, maybe some beans, some veggies. I love having a good sauce on mine. So maybe like Greek, like a tzatziki, like yogurt sauce, or, in a pinch, salsa is always a good sauce. And, or gosh, we have a ranch dressing recipe that I think is really good, depending on kind of the combo of foods that you have in there. But if you have like, kind of chicken and broccoli and maybe potatoes with like a ranch sauce on top. So there's a lot of kind of endless possibilities with bowls. And, with the kids, you don't have to put it all in a bowl, right? Like I find it's actually better to, keep it all separate, but these are nice meals that are good for the kids. And then this is also how I make them, more fun for me. Stir fry. So again, a lot of different options in terms of combinations, different proteins. This is one where shrimp would be really nice. Shrimp is actually a protein that I'll reach to a lot for lunch, just because again, it's quick and easy. And in my household, kid friendly. I know it's kid friendly has a different definition in each household. So you have to know what that is for your kids. Any vegetables work great in stir fries, like mushrooms are really easy. And, again, if you have some leftover vegetables or zucchini, things like that. And then rice or even quinoa or rice noodles go really well and they cook up quickly. For a sauce, you can just make a quick sauce with like kind of some soy sauce and toasted sesame seed oil. I think we have like actually maybe I'll link the whole blog post on like different sauce ideas for the kids' lunches. Sometimes I don't, they're happy without a sauce, but if you want to kind of have it be something that is a little more interesting, I always think adding a sauce really brings a meal together. So we have a blog post with some really nice sauce ideas. So I can link to that in the show notes. So those are my ideas for quick and easy lunches that are kid friendly. Again, with the caveat that each household's different. So hopefully these are flexible enough that you can kind of mix and match and come up with some ideas for your house and your kids that are quick and easy, but also satisfying and tasty. So hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are a longtime listener of Meal Prep Monday, I would so appreciate it if you could go leave a rating and a review, or maybe even just take a quick screenshot or use that share button to share with a friend if you think you have someone that could use some lunch ideas in their life. Go ahead and send this episode their way. That just really helps get the word out about the podcast. So I so appreciate that. And again, if you want to try out our 1-week meal plan, again, like my favorite go-to lunches for kids are leftovers from my prep dish meal plans. So you can text the number 33777. So that's like the phone number that you'll put in is 33777. And then the word meal prep, all one word. And you can try 1 week of our meal plans. Or if you want to do a 2-week free trial, you can just go to prepdish.com/MPM and try it out for 2 weeks for free there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will be back again next Monday with a new episode.